What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Super exciting day today. I just had my Backwoods Adventure Mods high clearance rear bumper delivered. Super excited to get this thing open. It is super crazy windy today here in Tucson, so sorry if you hear the wind blowing back there, but we'll make our way through it. I wanted to show you guys how this thing was packaged, what it looks like, an unboxing essentially. Was a pretty frustrating delivery process, I'll be honest. It's no fault of Backwoods Adventure Mods. Shout out to J.O. over there. He was super patient in terms of, I would call like once a week trying to get information about where it was. They had some issues with like lasers going down, some other stuff. So normally it takes about 3 weeks. Mine took a decent amount longer than that, but I'm just happy it is here. So I'll throw you guys on the tripod so we can take a look at what's inside of this thing. Heads up too, if you do get this, if you pick one of these up and you get it delivered, it is a like freight delivery, so you have to be home for it to be delivered. The guy unloaded it off of his lift gate and then wheeled it in here. So you got to have access to be able to get it delivered like that. But yeah, we'll jump in here, see what's going on, and go from there. All right, here we go. Pop these puppies off with some tin snips here. And we'll just cut this box open. We'll see how this guy works here. It's a pretty hefty box, so we'll try to make this as efficient as possible. And it looks like it's like double boxed essentially. Cut this open. And this thing is pretty dang heavy. It's like, I don't know, 200 pounds it said on the delivery. So hopefully this doesn't fall over on me. And there it is. It looks like they did a pretty good job of wrapping this up to keep it protected. So there's these foam inserts here. They wrapped it in styrofoam. This looks like a box of hardware, so we'll jump into that. And then there's a couple other boxes here. So we'll make our way through all of this stuff. And then I'll bring you in a little closer here so you can see some of these details. All right, guys, here it is. So this is the Backwoods Adventure Mods Hi-Lite high clearance rear bumper. And if you didn't see my last video, I got hit by a drunk driver on my bumper. And so I kind of wanted a steel bumper before that, but it just made me kind of expedite the process. So this is what I'll be replacing my current bumper with. Some specs on this thing: it's 140 pounds. It is all steel construction, 100% made in the USA. And what's really cool about Backwoods Adventure Mods is they offer free shipping and free powder coat for all of their, well, at least I think all of their products. Really high quality. We can look at some of the welds in here. It just looks super high quality. The logo on the side is pretty sweet as well. Try to get you some shots here that are illuminated of some of the welding. So overall, I'm really impressed. The powder coat is really nice on this thing. There is a couple spots that have some overspray. I don't know if you can pick it up, but it's on the inside here. So there's a little bit of overspray to mention, but it's not anything that you're ever gonna see. So overall, I'm really impressed with this thing, especially for the price. I paid $15.80 out the door, and that includes delivery, powder coat, everything. And right now they're running it for 2,200 bucks. So that would, I'm pretty sure, would be out the door as well. So much more affordable than like CBI or some of those other companies that offer rear bumpers. And they do offer this bumper in a swing out version as well. So there would be some posts right here. So you could have the swing outs if you wanted that. That's obviously more expensive than this one and also heavier. I didn't want to go crazy heavy, so that's why I went with this one. And it does have cutouts for Pathfinder lights. And then it also comes with, I paid extra for those. I think it was an extra 100 bucks or something like that. So that $15.80 includes the lights that I got as well. So pretty impressed with that. And then it comes with the license plate lights. There's a license plate or a camera reroute if you need it. So there's all the hardware that you're going to need are in this box, I'm assuming. And so overall, really excited about this thing. This bumper does require a bedside cut. So this part right here goes along the bed side, and you have to cut. There's like and I'll show you here in a second, but there's a piece that you're gonna have to cut. So I'm gonna show you how to install this thing. Backwoods actually has a really good install video, so I'm not gonna do it to the level that they did. I'm just doing this out of my garage as a single dude, so I'll show you any tips and tricks that might be helpful, but we will get to that. We'll start out by checking out these Pathfinder lights, see how these guys look. Now, kind of a good time as well getting these Pathfinder lights because I'm redoing a lot of the wiring on my truck. I'm going to be switching to an aux beam 8-gang panel switch. So currently I have a Blue Sea Systems, and I'm going to kind of just change some stuff. I wanted to switch to solid state relays, so this will be sweet once I can wire these up. So here are those Pathfinder lights, and comes with 2 of those. Now these are made in China, so just a heads up to that. It's probably why they're a little bit more affordable. You do get the wiring harness, and it looks like it comes with the switch here. I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to be using the switch or the aux beam. So, and then you got some hardware here. Now jumping to the large box here, we'll cut into this boy. Okay, so this is all of the brackets and stuff that you're gonna need. So hardware, there's brackets. These ones mount to your frame, I believe. You have some, this looks like the license plate lights. You have some wiring harnesses for that. And then some other additional brackets, some hardware, and yep, that's about it in there. And then we'll check out what is in this box, which I believe this was from Backwoods Adventure Mods, just because I had to wait a little bit of time. So Jo said he would throw in some swag for me, so we'll see what swag they gave me. And looks like I got this pretty sweet hat, so I can rep that on the trail, and a little sticker. So appreciate you guys sending that out to me. And now we'll jump into looking at my truck and the install. What I highly recommend you do for this project, and really any project, is to get all of your stuff laid out and organized. So over here I have obviously the bumper and my main brackets, and then over on this cart I have my other smaller components and then all of the hardware. And it's pretty sweet that Backwoods, they give you these little printed out labels that tell you what all of this stuff is. So I have that all divided into these little cups, and then usually on this second shelf on this cart I'll put all the tools that I'll be using. So it just makes everything really easy to access. You're not losing pieces, you're not all disorganized, and it makes it a lot less of a headache. And so yeah, just a recommendation for that. And what I'll do is right here I'll drop a screenshot of all the tools that you're going to need, so you guys are prepared if you go to do this install and you're not scrambling through the video trying to figure out what I'm using. And yeah, so I'll start disassembling this bumper. I got Rolly here keeping me company, got some tunes, got a cold drink, so this should be a fun install, and we'll jump into it. So out the gate, had a little bit of difficulty getting these license plate lights out, and the trailer plug out was kind of tricky. And I think it's just because it hasn't been unplugged in a super long time, and there was like kind of mud and stuff. So a little trick to get these out is to reach up from back here and try to push out, and then you wedge like a pry tool to pull this guy out. And then for this trailer plug, I made the mistake of thinking you needed to take this gray piece off. You can just leave that. You don't need to do that. All you have to do is depress this little clip here, and then I took a pry tool and kind of wedged it between, if I can do it here one-handed, kind of wedged it between this end of it and then the actual plug here. So it kind of weaseled it off of there and managed to get it off. You also have to depress these little pins. These pins or clips are what hold this in the bumper there. So that's one thing to note. And then secondly is I ended up breaking several of these retaining clips in the process of trying to get this off. Now, I don't really care because my bumper was damaged, and it's not like I can salvage this thing. It's damaged. I'm not going to reuse it. I'm not going to try to sell it. So that's something to note. If you're trying to salvage this and save it, you got to be careful trying to get these clips off, because you'll probably end up breaking them if you just try to muscle them off. And maybe a good idea for those of you who do want to save this stuff to buy some extra clips just in case. So just a heads up to that, and we'll continue getting this thing torn down. I'm about to extend the wiring harnesses here for these guys. And just a little tip here, this stuff is all, you know, I'm sure yours will be the same because nobody ever cleans these, but it's all crusty. I use these pliers to kind of depress some of these tabs here to get these off, but don't use the pliers to pull it off. Just use the pliers to depress those tabs and then slide it off with your hands. And I'm gonna clean all this up, rewire this, remove the unnecessary sensors because I'm not gonna have these backup sensors anymore. And after that, I'm gonna put some dielectric grease on these, and in the future, that'll make it a lot easier to undo any of this if that's ever necessary. So we'll do that now. I'm just about finished doing all the wiring. So I cut the tailgate plug wire there to add on this extension that the kit comes with. And just kind of some advice for this is this extension kit comes all bundled up, and it comes with some wire loom wrapped around it. And then this is all taped up nice and neat. And it's actually easier to cut all of that off and then crimp these together and then rewrap them all. It's kind of a pain. You have to cut them exactly the same length, and if you don't, then it's really difficult to get these all crimped together. So that's one word of advice there. I bought my own wire loom here, so I have plenty of that I'm not worried about, you know, losing that guy. And then for all my sensors and the tailgate or the license plate lights, so the only thing that I'm salvaging from that wire harness are the license plate lights. I got this all wired up. I got my little spade connectors all connected here. And it's an interesting way that they've wired, like OEM. It has all of this bundle here. These are the sensors that I'm not gonna be using. So I cut them out, and one of these, the license plate lights were connected on the same, if I can get this to focus, we're connected to the same little harness here. So there was two from the sensor that went in these top two pins here. So I had to depin those in order to fully remove the sensor wiring. So it was kind of weird, I thought, but here those are all depinned. And so this is going to essentially be trash, I guess. I might save it just in case, but I honestly don't see any reason that I should keep that. But I got this all nice and clean. And another piece of advice for the tailgate plug is try to cut it as far up as you can. I wish I would have cut it further up here just because it gives you some more slack to work with. It's going to work out fine, and I'm going to get this all cleaned up. And it shouldn't be an issue, but I just wish I had a little extra slack that I had cut. So I'm just gonna do some heat shrink on this, or I'm gonna get my heat gun and shrink all of these, get it connected to that side, get it all taped up, and then we'll go from there. Got this tailgate plug wired up, nice and taped, waterproof the best I could. Same with the license plate lights. Everything's all wrapped up. Now we're gonna hook it all up and get the rest installed. Now that I've got my tape all good to go, I'm just gonna unscrew these bolts here and then lift up this fender flare up on top of the wheel, get that out of the way. So I've never done this before, or I've done it kind of with a multi-tool on my front bumper, but nothing this serious. So I'm just taking my time, I'm gonna take it nice and slow and try to get just one smooth cut. I don't wanna have to go back and like recut off a small sliver or anything like that. So I just recommend taking your time, however long it takes, and just get through it. So what seems to be working kind of good for me is I just looked at the tape and just did it as straight as possible, but I didn't go full tilt all the way through initially. I don't know if that's how you should be doing it, but it kind of gave me a guideline for this initial cut. And then now I'm going back through and getting the wheel all the way through the entire cut. So we'll see how this looks here. And I think I'm gonna need some hearing protection because my ears are ringing. All right, now I just need to clean this up because this angle grinder is a little large to be trying to make these cuts all super precise. I don't know if you can tell, but looks kind of janky there. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit here. All right, the cut is all finished. Turned out pretty good. Some of these spots that you can see, if we can get this to focus, the paint is a little bit worn off here, and that's gonna be covered up by the edge trim, so I'm not too worried about that. Another thing to mention is right here you can see where this paint kind of chipped off, and that's because I didn't have the tape pressed all the way down right there. So make sure you're pressing the tape fully down across this entire run here. And then downside with mine, because my truck was damaged, this part is still here. So I was hoping that I would be able to cut off all the damage, but you come 3 inches down from this point, and then this just so happened to still be left behind. So no big deal, I'm not too worried about it. But you can see, got this cut all nice and clean. So looks pretty good. Another thing to note as well is the mud flap here. I cut through and I ended up cutting this part of it as I was cutting the metal. So it may be a good idea to avoid that, I guess. It's going to be tucked in like that, so you're not even going to be able to see it once this thing is put back together. But just to note that if you can avoid cutting into that, you want to do that. So I'm going to do the other side and we'll get the bumper put on from there. Alright guys, that is it. I'll give you some close-up shots. I still have to wire up these lights, but it's super late and I'll probably do that later. I have to still do my aux beam install, and most likely I'll be doing those lights when I do that install because there's no sense in wiring it up to the current setup when I'm changing it. So here's how we're looking in terms of levelness with this. So looks pretty dang good. It was a little tough to get it totally level. You got to do some finessing. I've got the wheel well, fender flap, whatever you want to call this, zip tied down here as best as possible. It is a little loose here. There's nowhere to really connect it, but it's going to be fine like that. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. It looks super clean. I was able to get it spaced out properly. I was gauging, if you saw in the hyperlapse, I was gauging with my hand the gap here and then the gap here. So I got it pretty spot on with that. Everything looks super flush. And I got these shackles here, just added those on. I'll obviously be putting my license plate on. They do offer a flip up license plate kit if you want to buy that, because once I put the license plate on, I won't have access to that hitch anymore. So I'll just be obviously driving around without a hitch, and then if I need one, I'll just have to flip my license plate up or take it off. We'll test these out here in just a second. This is one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about, is these lights are kind of cheap. So it's just a plastic housing. I mean, they're on there really good and we'll see how they look, but I can just imagine loading stuff in the truck, hopping up, doing something, and I nick this or something. I feel like it totally just crack right off. So it'd be nice if those were recessed, if they were, you know, able to have a recessed option, but I'm sure this was the best they could do with just this style bumper. Here's the other side, looking pretty good. I was able to get this gap here pretty much the same on both sides. You can see here, that's that damage from the accident that I'm just gonna live with. And really it doesn't look too bad. So overall, super happy with it. So let's try out these lights real quick. So we'll turn the truck on. Let's see. See if those kicked on or not. And great. So one of them's not working. One of them is. So we're gonna have to figure out what's going on with that, which is super annoying because I was thinking I was done. But it is what it is. Here's a quick shot from distance so you can see what it just looks like from the whole profile. And the more I look at this thing, the more I am digging it. It looks freaking sick. And I told myself I was done, but the more I look at this, the more it makes me want to do my front bumper. It's kind of an obsession at this point, but it just looks super clean. It almost looks factory. What I really like about it is it just looks like the truck just came like this, and how the bumper here just matches the body line so well. I'm digging it. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you got some tips from me, and I figured out what was wrong with this light on the back side. That's where you bolt on the bumper. Somehow I got the wire wedged between the bracket and the bumper, pinched it, and now it's pinched in between there. So pretty big bummer. I'm gonna have to undo it all, or at least undo this side to get that loose and then try to rewire it. Definitely pretty annoying, but it is what it is. Happens sometimes. Good thing is now you'll know if you do this install, not to do that. So here's what I ended up doing with this license plate light situation. So after pinching that wire, I honestly didn't even really like these lights anyway, so I just removed them and plugged the little bolt hole with this cap here. You still have these slits obviously, but it's still with those caps in there. It looks like it's kind of meant to be like that. And I found this Red Flag Robotics license plate light instead. So this thing is really high quality. It was like 30 bucks on Amazon. It has a metal housing and there's one singular wire. So I ended up not using this wire. I taped it off so it's all protected, and then ended up using the one wiring harness from this side, and it just feeds back behind here. So it does look a little weird, I would say, but when you take a step back you really don't notice it. But this thing is super high quality. It feeds in, it just basically stacks on top of your license plate, and you feed the bolt holes through each side, and the light is really bright too. So I just think it looks a lot cleaner, and I'll drop the link to that and these little caps here if you guys are interested in that. Honestly, you could I'm just OCD, so I wanted to put those in there, but you could probably get away without doing that. But definitely think it looks way better than those other ones. Overall, really happy with how it turned out. It looks super nice. It's definitely one of the more difficult installs that I've done. I did my own lift. This was pretty close to that. The lift was definitely a little bit harder and more difficult to do by yourself, but this was still pretty hard to do by myself. I'm absolutely beat, but it was worth it. So it looks good. Got my bumper taken care of after it being messed up for several months, so happy about that. And we'll see what my gas mileage looks like with the extra weight. But yeah, hope you guys liked the video. Next video I'm going to be doing will likely be that aux beam install, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. But otherwise, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.